Gold and silver are up strongly in 2020, which benefits producers, but is starting to benefit explorers too. Excellon Resources has both a producing silver mine in Mexico and several very promising exploration projects, one of which is located right here in Germany. We are talking to CEO Brendan Cahill today to hear more of this intriguing story. Welcome, Brendan.
Hi, Bjorn. How are you? Great to be here today.
Great to talk to you. Brendan, this is our first interview though, so could you please give our audience a short overview of your professional background and track record?
Sure. So I've been CEO of Excellon since 2012. And before that, I was at a company called Palangio Mines and Palangio Exploration. And Palangio Mines spun off Detour Lake to Detour Gold in 2007. So great win for our shareholders through that transaction. Working with Ingrid Hibbard there, the CEO at the time, we then went to West Africa and made a number of discoveries in Ghana. And then I joined Excellon in 2012. So I've been running Excellon since then, and working through big turnaround in the operation in terms of developing relationships in the community, really solidifying our presence in Mexico, addressing some engineering issues, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well, and really kind of setting up a good platform for growth. And I joined in 2012. The market kind of really tanked in 2013. So managing the commodity markets has been a big challenge for all of us, for the entire industry over the past decade. But I think really putting together a portfolio of assets now that is very well primed for this coming, thankfully, bull market that we're just starting to get into. And very confident that the next 5-10 years of precious metal prices are going to be unlike anything we've seen, I think, in many of our lifetimes. And we want to be there exploring, discovering, growing assets, developing and putting things in production over that cycle.
Okay, well, that would certainly help the industry, and we're starting to see it now. Just a little aside, all the numbers from the big gold producers coming out, they are all posting record numbers. As I said, the higher prices, precious metals prices are benefiting them directly. It's going all directly to the bottom line. Now, Excellon is, as you alluded to, operating the silver mine Platosa in Mexico, which has among the highest grades in the country. And still you have been struggling in the past to turn a profit there. So in the last couple of months, though, Excellon has made great strides in bringing down costs at Platosa. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, so the mine's been in operation since 2005, and so 15 years of operation now, and started off a very, very small resource, only 60,000 tons. So a lot of the steps weren't put in place initially to kind of make for a long-term success on the project, I guess you could say. So that's part of the turnaround that we've been working on for in the recent decade, I guess. The mine hit the water table in 2007, wasn't really prepared to deal with it, but managed to deal with it for the subsequent years. But really that became a big problem. We solved it in 2017 with a new pumping system, drying out the mine completely. So that allowed us to mine more efficiently at lower cost. But then we had some external cost pressures, specifically electricity and treatment charges on zinc, kind of things that are a little bit more difficult to control. But in Q2 of this year, we made a number of steps to really corral those costs. We renegotiated our offtake agreement, got a big reduction on zinc treatment charges. That's right in addition to your top line revenue. We reduced our workforce by about 30% or so. We were able to do that because we were going from 3 shifts a day to 2 shifts a day, just a more efficient arrangement of our workforce. And our best guys are at the face more often now. So they're happy because they're making more overtime or more bonus, and we're getting more productivity and better quality of work. So we're very happy as well. We changed our mining method to just a more effective mining method for the Platosa mine. And then we just moved to a private electricity agreement in early Q4. And electricity is a big component of the cost here. Represents about 40% of OPEX, or did represent about 40% of OPEX because of the amount of water that we're pumping. So that's your critical cost center. Moving to that private supplier, seeing a potential reduction of 30 to 40% plus really starts to drive costs much lower than where they've been over recent quarters and the past couple of years as well. Right at the time where we see higher silver prices, which is great. And your comment about the majors finally making real money. I think this is critical for the industry, right? Because the generalist investor is going to look at those cash flows and say, wow, the yield on these companies is exceptional. What are they going to do with the cash? and like, where am I going to get that kind of cash flow elsewhere in the global economy right now?
Right.
And I think that's what's going to drive generalist investor investment into our space, and where we'll see great returns over the coming years as well.
Yeah, certainly hope so. And we'll certainly hope so that we'll see those kind of returns also for Excellon, because I think the production numbers in the last quarter were very strong.
Very strong production numbers. We did 524,000 silver equivalent, but really you kind of got to go through those numbers. You know, the silver production was the best we've seen since 2014. Very strong base metal production. But since we've seen this kind of real increase in the silver price relative to base metal prices, your silver equivalency actually goes down. So we're kind of a victim of the success of silver, but we're not going to complain, because at the end of the day, it's revenue and cash flow that's most important. And we see this kind of profile going forward, and the cost profile improving as this private electricity agreement kicks in Q4.
Okay, good. We'll certainly see how that goes. Another project you have in Mexico is called Evolucion. I think you recently published a pretty big rise in resource inventory, and project also has its own mill, if I'm correct there. What are your plans for that project? How do you want to advance that?
Yeah, I like your proper Spanish pronunciation of Evolucion.
I'm working on it.
No, it's very good. You'd be noted in Mexico for the pronunciation. But so that project is one where it's right beside the mill that we actually use for our Platosa mine, right? So we truck our ore down from Platosa to that mill. So it's a fully operating mill with spare capacity. But the scale of the project that our deposit that we've identified up at Evolucion is quite a bit larger than what that mill could currently handle. You know, we would need to do some expansion there. But you know, this resource, 35 million ounces silver equivalent indicated, and 65 million ounces silver equivalent inferred, is the product of a discovery we made in 2018 of the Lechuza zone. That was a brand new discovery. We combined that with a historical resource at Calvario, and then spent about $3 million US on that to get to this, you know, effectively 100 million ounce silver equivalent resource. So very, you know, effective use of capital. And so now we've got the resource defined. It's mostly inferred. It's wide open in both directions for expansion, and then also parallel veins in between the two existing zones. So we're going to get some internal scoping studies and economics on that over the coming while. It's going to go fade back into the skunk works, I guess you could say, and we're going to move that forward over the next little while. Very, very leveraged to zinc. Zinc prices have been doing quite well over the last little while, and leveraged to silver also. So I think you know, we're going to move it forward over the next couple of years. Likely wait for a bit of a better market or price environment to really move it forward. But it is a project that's of similar grade to other projects in the local area. You know, mined at more like 1,500 to 2,500 tons per day, much lower grade than Platosa, but mined at a much higher rate. And that's the kind of prospect we have for it over the coming years. So, I mean, that's one, stay tuned. Lots will happen there, but it's not our priority project right now with all the other great things going on.
Okay. Well, yeah, you know, there's a lot of things going on. We talked about that earlier. One of those is the Silver City project, which interests German investors, especially since it's in Freiberg, in the German state of Saxony. Please tell us what made you take on that project and what potential you see there.
Yeah, and I mean, we've spoken about this project previously at some length, and you know, it's a project that was mined for 800 years, and mining really only stopped when Germany moved off the silver standard in 1873. You know, silver prices at that time plummeted. The gold-silver ratio broke down, went from 16:1, which had been effectively in place since the time of the Romans. It was noted by Newton as the natural ratio for gold and silver. So, you know, and then after World War II, this area, still a lot of focus on base metal production. There was a big lead smelter there at Halsbrücke, right beside the project, operating until 1968. But under the Soviet influence in East Germany, there wasn't really a lot of interest in precious metals. And you see that globally. You know, the Soviets wanted those industrial and base metals. So, you know, it really wasn't until like the 2010s when Germany started looking more towards where our supplies going to come from, like where our supply chains. You know, we need to start protecting those so we can actually get the raw materials to make our end products. And that led to a bit of a resurgence at that time, and then an increasing resurgence of the interest in bringing exploration and mining back ultimately to Germany. So this project was staked in 2017 by Globex Minerals. And it was staked by one of their geos, a German guy who had been in Mexico for 20 years on the Fresnillo trend. And he realized that he had this opportunity in his backyard to put together a very large exploration package on a world-class silver belt. We optioned that in September 2019. And, 36 kilometers of strike, 164 square kilometers. If you saw this, and you couldn't put a project this size together in Mexico, everything is already surrounded by juniors and majors and, on those major trends. And the grades mined historically, the number of mines going through this area, up to 4,000 gram per ton silver, widths from, narrow grain, typical high grade epithermal silver veins, all the way up to even 10 meters in historical records, which we have and are using it as an exploration tool. So our thesis here is, first get on the ground, can we permit? And that's been at least the first drill program. And that's been a very effective and efficient system, despite all the logistical challenges of the pandemic. We started drilling in early July, and very efficient and smooth ramp up. Definitely curiosity from the local communities, but great support as well. We work with the University of Freiburg, one of the world's great mining and metallurgical universities and the oldest, and the Helmholtz Institute, which is a technology institute for, I think, advocating for German exploration and mining, and then also developing technologies. And we have a research and development agreement with that institute where we share our information in core and get access to their technologies. So it's really, from our perspective, the perfect setting for success. And we've been drilling since early July. And the big challenge we have is really just getting assays back from this drilling.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because it's been a while since July.
Yeah, for sure. And, we're still drilling there. We have about 2 more holes left as of early November. So the drilling will continue until kind of the end of November or so. But these assay delays are kind of a symptom of the entire industry right now. We send our samples, our core, over to Poland where it's prepped. And then those pulps are sent over to BC to kind of a centralized assaying lab. You've got like pandemic logistics, not enough people in the labs, border issues of transport, and then this huge bull market that we're in, and everybody is drilling right now. And I'm on other boards and everybody's waiting for assays, and people are putting out press releases that they're waiting for assays. And it's kind of, in the end, we're not used to this. We used to be used to this in 2008, 9, 10, 11. But it's been a long time since people have been complaining about assay delays because we just haven't had the market for it. So it's a product, I guess, a bit of the bull market and the successes we've seen, but it's also very frustrating for sure, for us, for investors. But I think, our perspective on the project right now is that we're going to be there a very long time. There's, major epithermal system moving through the area. It's a very supportive jurisdiction. We have a great group of allies and people on the ground that we enjoy working with. And, so now it's just about making discoveries and getting assays back. That's it.
Okay, well, let's hope they come back soon. Perhaps there's a nice little Christmas present there. That would be great.
So. Yeah. Some tinsel on the tree.
Yeah, so we should. Let's talk about a project then that's a bit further along, which is the Kilgore project, which was acquired, or which you acquired with the takeover of Otis, I think. And this is a more advanced project, already has a PA on it. What are your next steps there? How do you want to realize this value for Excellon shareholders?
Yeah, and I think it's we acquired Otis Gold in April of this year, announced the transaction in February of this year. So, right during the worst part of the pandemic, we kind of announced and closed that transaction. Difficult time to be doing one, but it was really the product of seeing in the spring of 2019 gold going through 1,400, bull market fully back on, and then later in the year realizing that there was this kind of arbitrage opportunity between the price of gold and then the ounces in the ground being much undervalued. And so we spent a lot of time looking at Otis and a number of other assets and acquiring it for $22 million Canadian in shares, less than $20 US an ounce. And that project now at $1,800 gold, for example, has an NPV of over $300 million based on the PEA put out last year by Otis. So an exceptionally accretive transaction for us. But really, like, we see a lot more growth in this asset going forward. Right now, there's 1 million ounces roughly at 0.5 grams. But there's drill results there at 95 meters at 4.2 grams, 31 meters at 5.4 grams that really haven't been followed up on. They're part of the lower part of the system, or an underlying stratigraphy called the Aspen Formation, and it runs throughout the whole project, outcrops here, outcrops there, and really carries much higher grade gold. So our focus on the project is, right now we're in the permitting phase for the next phase of drilling. It's U.S. Forest Service land, so we submitted the plan of operations and moving through the EA process over these months. And then once we get drilling, it's kind of parallel tracks, move the project forward, grow the resources, move that from a PEA to a PFS over the coming while, wrap those, get better economics on it. All the while, we're also doing the regional and more structurally focused exploration to see if we can find a much larger multi-million ounce deposit on this project. And we've been on the project now since May, waited for the snows of Idaho to melt, and used remote sensing, hyperspectral, and Aster to really kind of trace the indicator mineralization for gold. Got boots on the ground and starting to see some very interesting results out in the field. So lots going on there. We should have some updates out on that very shortly, but it's a project that has tons of room to grow, and that's our plan over the next few years.
Okay, very well. So then, last but not least, let's talk shortly about the Oakley project. Exxon optioned that one out to Centerra Gold. What's the value proposition for the company here?
Yeah, so Oakley came along with the Otis Gold transaction, and the negotiations between Centerra and Otis had been going on kind of beforehand, and we were aware of them. But it wasn't, our priority was Kilgore. But Oakley has kind of become a very interesting asset. Centerra Gold has optioned it from us now, and they're spending up to $7 million over the next 6 years to earn into up to 70% on the project. And we're the managers of the project, and they're really pushing the exploration hard on that project. We should start drilling there very soon. I'm hoping by the end of the year, might be early next year. It's about expanding the existing resource, which is about 150,000 ounces at 0.5 grams per ton, and doing exploration on a scale that really hasn't been done on that project before. It's just west of Liberty Gold's Black Pine deposit, which has seen tremendous success through the drill bit. So I think there's some very good opportunity to find something much bigger there and start growing ounces quite effectively. So we're very much looking forward to that program. The value proposition is Centerra is spending the money, we're managing the project. We hope they have tremendous success, and if they do, then we have a 30% interest in a project that Centerra Gold, major gold producer, mid-tier gold producer, deems worthy of their advancement. And if they don't, well, I think there's going to be enough success that we're going to have a project that we can advance further as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation for us on that project.
Okay, very good. So
we're missing one, though. We're actually missing one project, and we kind of talked about it earlier. But Platosa, we're operating from there, obviously, but it's a 14,000 hectare ground package. And we're drilling with 3 rigs there right now, from underground, from surface, and up on 2 targets to the north called Jaboncillo and PDN. And, so really working to expand the resource, find new mantos, which would be mineable from existing infrastructure. And then Jaboncillo is a target that has a huge alteration zone, multiple times the size of Platosa, where we made a discovery effectively in 2019, hitting a Gossamus horizon across a very large area, and realized that this was formerly mineralized and it's being oxidized out. So it's a mineralized system up there. Now we just have to find the economic part of the system there. And that's very exciting, because it would really open up the Platosa project to potentially a new mine development 10 kilometers to the north, which would benefit from all of the mine infrastructure that we already have there. So stay tuned for that. Another one update coming out on that over the next little while.
Okay, so Platosa, we talked about it, but not about the exploration potential there. That's true. Okay, so a lot of stuff to digest for our audience here. Give us a short summary, in your personal opinion. why should investors take a closer look at Excellon right now at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean, we're a silver producer, right? And when you see a precious metals bull market go, silver first, and then silver producers massively outperform. So it's that direct exposure to the silver price that we have is excellent for investors. We've got a very solid asset base that's very much undervalued. We're trading at about a 0.5 or less NAV right now. So with the resource base that we have, there's definitely a lot of value in there. And then we've created a platform that allows us to make discoveries across a number of assets. And discovery is the riskiest part of the business, but definitely the highest return. So we've buttressed that risk with production, with asset base, and then with a kind of a portfolio of assets, all of which are moving forward. Each of these projects has a team on it. Every single day, each of these projects is moving forward, and we're trying to make discoveries on every one of them. So it's like insurance in the casino of discovery, right? And that's kind of the way we've set up the company to really fund these discoveries. And I fundamentally believe that we're at that part of the market where discoveries are the things that have the most torque and the most paid for. Later on, it'll be development projects, and soon enough we're going to see the producers really get re-rated as the generalist comes in and realize how much cash flow these companies are actually making. So we have a little bit of everything, and I think we're very well positioned to fully realize on this bull market.
Okay, thank you very much. Certainly looking forward to it. When you talk about discoveries, it has been a while that you could put a drill result and discoveries what you want, how you wanted, and nobody cared. So this has certainly
not
been
that long ago, right?
No, and it's certainly been changing a lot. So we're looking forward to all the different kinds of results coming in, and we'll talk again then. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Bjorn. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.